there's a thing called image projection, right? So you'll see this a lot when people project their insecurities on you, when they project their judgment on you, when they project their limited scope of thought. And a lot of us have a limited scope of thought. We have to work through that, right? Because that limited scope comes from things that we were taught in our childhood, maybe within a religious trauma, anything like that that we were taught. So if it causes dissonance in somebody's mind, and let's say they don't like how they look. Okay, I don't know what that means. Just say that is a blanket thing. So they don't really like how they look, and then they see somebody who maybe looks confident. You know, they're standing out there on the gram. They're like, "Whoa, I'm confident," and they look good, right? And when I say look good, I mean they look like they feel good. They're confident, and they're here for every bit of that. And you're not, or the person who, let's say that's you, let's say it's you, and you're like, oh my God, taking pictures. And another person's like, oh, well, they're a little extra. I'm like, they're all about themselves. Yeah, because you're allowed to be confident and take a picture. If they're not confident, then what's going to happen is they are going to be triggered about their own insecurity when you're secure. That's just how that works. So when you're dealing with one person's opinion, this is why you got to be careful with that opinion thought, that image projection is being put upon you. If someone has a judgment about you, if someone is judging how you look, how you're acting, based on how they would or would not behave, that's expecting them out of you. They do not have to align with it. They absolutely do not have to align with that. And when they don't align with it, they can distance from it. Where it becomes a problem is where they're not distancing and they're trying to throw that on you. They want you to change because they feel like their way is the right way for you. So what you'll find is, as you're going on this journey, I always tell this to all of my clients from day one. The same people who start on your journey will not always be the same people who end up on your journey. And I don't think that that's something that a lot of people are ready to deal with. It's something I tell from the door, because it's important. If it isn't something that is benefiting you, if it isn't something that is promoting your growth, it is something that is hindering you. Yes, that can be a person. Yes, that can be a situation. Yes, that can be the entire family. Are you willing? I'm asking you this. Are you willing to distance from people if, in fact, you don't have to just do it for the sake of being like, I'm on a healing journey. No. If it is not benefiting you, it is harming you, are you willing right now on this journey to say, okay, you know what? This may or may not serve my best and highest good. You're not going to know this day one. No, you will not know this day one. It's a process as you get to know you and what you will and will not tolerate. As you get there, you're going to decide if those people are going to be on your journey or not. Are you willing today to realize that that's a possibility? I mean, it's an honest question. Everybody wants to feel better and they want to be in a better headspace, but sometimes that's going to be distancing from sometimes everything you once thought you knew. It's not scary. I know people think it is. It's not scary, honestly. It's uncomfortable. It's not scary if you know that you're putting yourself as a priority. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be your priority? Are you willing to say, well, I thought that this marriage was what I wanted it to be, and it isn't. You can't force somebody to go on a healing journey. You can't force them to want to be in a relationship. You can't force them to love you. That goes into attachment. That goes into insecurity. And when you're in that space, that's going to be problematic for every relationship that you're in. Just because you like something or someone doesn't mean that that has to be returned. Right? And that's something that people have a hard time accepting. Just because, hey, I like you. Hey, I want to be with you. Well, other people may not want to be with you. Seriously. And I know that that seems harsh, but it's the fact. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Everybody isn't going to want to be with you. And that's okay, because guess what? When is the last time you walked into a room of life and thought, I feel the same way about everybody? I love everybody, but that doesn't mean I want to hang with everybody. I love everybody. That doesn't mean I want to be in a relationship with them. You don't even like everybody that you meet. So are you willing to take a stance for yourself and say, I don't know what's going to happen, because you're going to have to be okay with their opinions of you not affecting you, not triggering you to be like, oh, well, that's not fair. And why aren't they doing that? It's not going to be fair. You're going to have to be okay with that. Justice, and I don't mean justice like a law justice, justice for how you would act is the justice I'm speaking of. Just because you want justice and fairness based on how you feel and how you would react does not mean that everybody else is going to feel that same way. But are you willing to take that? And they are, not might, not everybody, but some of them are going to judge you, are going to call you selfish, are going to make you the villain in their story, are possibly going to smear you. You have to know that going into, there's no scenario where you just create a boundary and you go, hey, you know what? Like, I really don't like that. And if that continues, because remember, you have to have a boundary is if this, then this consequence. And if it continues, then, I'm gonna have to rethink this relationship. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, that's easy. No, for years, you didn't have boundaries. For years, you never even knew who you were. For years, people told you that. For years, they were telling you what you wanted, telling you what you needed, telling you how they wanted you to behave and how you were supposed to behave. And now you're like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't align with me and I don't like it. Not quite sure what I want, but I know this isn't it. Because before you can know what it is that you want and what it is that you align with, you got to know what it is you don't want and what it is you don't want to align with. And that's something to really think about. And it isn't something that is going to happen overnight. This isn't something that you're just going to wake up one day and have all of the answers to. It's not going to happen. Are you willing to be okay with people not liking you? Are you willing to be okay with being the villain? Are you willing to being misunderstood because you're putting yourself as a priority? Are you willing to possibly distance from people who are in your life, maybe them all, maybe every bit of them? Are you willing to do that for yourself? Because if you're not willing to do it, then this healing journey is going to be something you got to put a pin in. Because unless you're willing to do that, you're going to take on so many people's opinions. You're going to care what they think about, and it's going to be a big problem. You're going to stay stuck. It's going to be a constant with you. You deserve more than that, but it's never going to happen unless you realize that. You got to know that. It might take you a minute. It honestly might take you a minute. So I think for you, what I'd like for you to do is really get introspectively honest. Why does somebody's opinion bother you? Insecurity, because you're already insecure about something. So somebody's going to push, somebody's like, oh, your nose looks a little weird in that picture. And you feel some kind of way about your nose. Well, now you're all defensive. You're like, well, what do you mean? No, maybe it does. I don't know. Now, because you were triggered through an insecurity. Let your nose be how it is. But you got to be willing to take that. You got to be willing to take that on to say, I may or may not need to be around these people, no matter how much I think I want them. And honestly, you may discover on this journey too, it might not be who you want in the first place. Don't worry about their opinions. Just worry about your opinion of yourself.